Cheating wife of 23 years begs me to take her back after her boyfriend dumps her. I'm a 50-year-old man who's been married to my wife Amy, 48F, for over 2 decades, 23 years to be more precise. We also have 3 kids together, the oldest of whom is 22 years old and the youngest is almost 18. Our kids are Rachel, 22F, Jake, 19M, and Ava, 17/18F. Recently, Amy confessed to me that she'd been cheating on me with her coworker Matt, 27M. I'm using fake names here for obvious reasons. 1 week ago, she sat me down and told me that she'd been with Matt for 2 years now and that she finally felt ready to tell me and to take things to the next level with him. All our kids are pretty grown up as well and Ava will be an adult in 2 months, so she believed that this was the perfect time to tell me the truth. I was devastated when she told me, and I'm thankful that none of our kids were around to see me dissolve into a puddle of tears and have a total breakdown when she confessed, because I'm sure they wouldn't have liked to see that. Rachel moved out for work after college, Jake is in college, and Ava was at a friend's place that day, so we had the house to ourselves, and I'm sure that was the reason why Amy picked that day to tell me the truth. She tried to comfort me while I was crying and begging her not to leave and give our marriage another chance, but she told me that she could no longer stay with me anymore and waste more of her time being stuck in a loveless marriage. My entire world had been turned upside down that day, so naturally, my first reaction was to try to make her stay and be in denial of whatever she told me, so I'd appreciate it if nobody judged me. It was all said in a moment of weakness. I let myself sob for half an hour before the realization finally set in and I managed to compose myself. Amy had been patting my arm all along and saying things like, "It'll get better and you'll find someone," treating me like a wounded puppy and not her husband who she'd cheated on and then dumped after 23 years of marriage. Once I pulled myself together, I stood up and told her to leave the house because I didn't want her around anymore once they came back. She was visibly surprised that I'd gone from begging her to stay to asking her to leave the house, and to be honest, so was I, but I said it nevertheless. If she had anything to say at that point, she didn't say it at the time and left in silence after adding a few belongings of hers in an already packed duffel bag, so I knew that she'd already been planning to leave and had seen this coming. She then left after an awkward side hug that I didn't even reciprocate and just stood there stiffly like a statue. After Amy left, I think I must have cried like a baby for the next couple of hours until Ava came back home. I was shattered and didn't know what to do with myself anymore because my marriage had fallen apart, and even worse, the woman I'd loved more than life itself had cheated on me and continued to cheat on me for 2 whole years until she finally told me. She didn't even think there was anything messed up with what she'd done, because the entire time after she'd confessed, she just kept acting like it was no big deal and only tried to comfort me because she probably felt uncomfortable just sitting there silently while I sobbed. There were a million things that were and are still going through my mind in an endless loop, but at least I'm feeling considerably more stable now since 1 week has passed and I've been able to hold myself together for the sake of my kids. If not for myself, I most certainly have to be strong for them, because this has come as a huge shock to them too. When Ava came home that day, she found me sleeping on the couch, and when I woke up, she could tell that I'd been crying because my eyes were all red and puffy. She asked me what was wrong and where her mother was several times before I finally told her, because I knew that saying it all out loud would make it real and I'd end up crying again. But I did tell her the truth and inevitably ended up sobbing some more, which felt kind of embarrassing, but at least Ava was there to comfort me and it was genuine. She was just as much in shock as I'd been when I first found out. I wasn't thinking straight at the time, and so I hadn't told anyone anything by then, but Ava made several calls and managed to inform her siblings and asked them to come home as soon as they could, and also told her uncle, my brother, so he could come over and help us out. My brother Eric, 45M, is still single by choice, but he's a solid guy and I knew I could always count on him if I was ever in any sort of trouble. He proved me right when he showed up at my house within hours of Ava's call, even though he lives quite far away. He knew that I needed to rest my head and grieve the end of my marriage and life as I knew it for a few days, so he moved in with us to help take care of us all for the next couple of days. It's been a week and he's still here, and so are all my kids. We're all trying to cope with this together and make sense of the situation somehow, because it still feels a little like a nightmare I can't seem to wake up from. I didn't think that Amy leaving would have such an impact on me and my mental health, but I think Eric was right to take that call and move in, because I've been really lost ever since she left and can't even seem to bring myself to get out of bed in the mornings. So yeah, I believe that I do need all the help I can get. My kids are also being incredibly sweet and I'm thankful for it. I've spoken to my lawyer about everything and we're preparing ourselves for the inevitable divorce now. I haven't actually filed for divorce yet myself because I've been waiting for Amy to serve me, and it was strange that it hadn't happened so far, but last night, I got to know why exactly she hasn't filed for divorce yet, even though she's told me that she's leaving me. Yesterday, really late at night, I received a call from Amy and I was shocked because we hadn't spoken since she left and I didn't have any idea why she'd be calling me after almost a week out of the blue. I answered her call and she sounded distressed and I knew that she'd been crying. She asked about the kids and I told her that they were all here and so was my brother, and tried to keep the concern out of my voice to the best of my abilities because I didn't want her to know that I still cared. I did and still do, but I just didn't want her to know that. After she asked about the kids and I replied as brusquely as I could, she started crying on the phone, and it took me by surprise because I didn't expect her to break down. She's the one who'd cheated on me and then left, so it didn't make sense for her to be crying. I couldn't stop myself, and before I knew it, I'd asked her if she was alright, and then she told me that Matt had turned her away when she'd asked to move in with him the day that she left our house. Apparently, he wasn't ready for a relationship yet, and